What's up, everybody? I'm Ivan Vargas. Welcome to the Victory Show. Honestly, it's a shocking one at that. Bears won yesterday in very, very, very surprising fashion. It was a very exciting end to the ball game. If you're a Bears fan, first things first, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, go ahead and download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. And also remember to go ahead and like my page on YouTube as well. Just go ahead and search Ivan Vargas and it'll pop up. You'll see the little barely pregame icon in the little profile pic area. So anyway, yesterday a victory for the Chicago Bears, a surprising one at that. Majority of the game, I thought the Bears were going to go ahead and give up another touchdown to the Seattle Seahawks, an extra touchdown to the Seattle Seahawks. And don't get me wrong, the Seattle Seahawks pretty much did everything in their power to give the Bears some shots, right? You have missed opportunities on the field goal. You had Seattle driving there right before the end of the game. They completely pushed themselves out of field goal range with penalties. So Seattle has their own issues. But as far as the Bears are concerned, you're happy with the victory. You are happy with the victory, but don't be blinded. I asked you guys this question when they beat the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day, with all the Nagy threats, with Nagy threats of being fired. You have Thanksgiving right around the corner. I guess it became emotional to him and possibly the players. I know there's players in that locker room that like Matt Nagy. You heard David Montgomery talk about Matt Nagy, and I don't know how much of it is them trying to be professional, and not slander the guy on his way out. But to me, I could believe half of it. It's there's truth in everything, I feel like. And I believe there's a part of Matt Nagy that, man, could be a help to some players. That probably a solid coach. I think Matt Nagy would have been better off starting off in college and working his way up to the NFL, or, up to the NFL as far as a head coach, because obviously he was with the Chiefs. That's where he got him from. But nonetheless, I feel like crawling would have been better than running right away, then a full-on sprint for Matt Nagy. And I feel like the players are motivated because it is their team. Like they do wear the colors. They do have the C on their helmets. They have to have some pride for themselves. So they went ahead and they fought again. But are you happy? Are you happy with how the offense is continuing to sputter, continuing to do just questionable things at critical times in the game? I know a lot of people pointed to the first drive. No, we had the Wildcat. I understand the Wildcat. David Montgomery in a Wildcat once in a while, okay. It hasn't really been working in recent games. Every time they bring it out in recent games, I feel like it hasn't gone for anything necessarily big. And if David doesn't really hand off the ball to one of the wide receivers, I feel like David kind of runs himself into a lot of traffic. You have to have somebody dictating an area, and then once David sees it collapse, then he could go ahead and make his move. But David, right away getting the ball, like you saw it on the goal line, I felt like he's looking to go forward, but forward's getting pushed back, and that's also a problem. Going forward right into his line as they're getting pushed back, he just got swallowed up. He had to go east and west along that offensive line that was getting pushed back. It's just I feel like you allow David a little bit too much. It's just like he sees it, he wants to go, but there's nothing there. I feel like in a Wildcat, David just overruns himself a little bit. Not a whole lot. I mean, he's a great ball player, don't get me wrong, but he overruns himself a little bit. You have a quarterback back there as well. That's another element to that play I just didn't like. You have a quarterback back there, and he could go ahead and now you have a threat for the run or for the pass. Now you have a passing threat back there that'll allow you to do some more things in the end zone. Play action with David. Maybe the linebacker goes with him. You've seen it. There's a play in the game later on for the Seahawks, and I wanted to show it to you guys. But there's a play later in the game they hit on play action to Everett wide open, right? Play action to Everett, and the Seahawks are. I want to say the Seahawks are between the 20 and the 40 of the Chicago Bears. Play action rollout. Duke Shelley bites hard on the run. I mean, he's damn near halfway across the field by the time he realizes it's a pass and Russell's rolling out on the backside. You have that element of the play action that can get guys out of position, right? Boom. Oh, shit. I over pursued half the field, Duke Shelley. I got to get back. Well, too late, dude. The guy's wide open down the field. Touchdown Seahawks. Now, you're in a little bit of a tighter space, right? When that play was run. You're within, I think that might have been the half-yard line. You're within the half-yard line. Even if you're running the football, you're going to have multiple tight ends out there. You're going to have a receiver out there because, I mean, you like to do it anyway. You like to have multiple receivers out there on the goal line. That's fine. That's fine. But at least have a threat of passing the ball. And then, like I said, play action fakes. After David Montgomery was running pretty well. There was a couple plays that got called back on him. There was a couple times I felt like he should have been on the field when he wasn't. It was a good day for David. Over 100 yards total. Touched the ball 28 times. But you allow him to be the decoy on certain plays like that. He's running over the defense, truck that poor cornerback, running over the defense. They're keying in on him. They brought the 10th guy. There was 10 guys out there. Sam Musserford got destroyed on that play. Sam Musserford got shoved down and thrown into the end zone on that play, which is also a problem, right? That's also an issue. But I like the dual threat. I like having two threats out there. David's not, I feel like unless you've been working on a jump pass or something like that, I don't think David's a threat to throw the ball down the field. Can he throw it? Probably. I'm not saying that he might not be able to throw the football, but it just doesn't scare me as much as let's say you keeping Nick Foles out there. And even if you do run it, okay, boom, it's second down. Now it's third down. Play action's at hand because you're going to go for it. It's 2 down territory. Just the little things like that. I just feel like there needs to be more of a focus on run and then pass off the run instead of pass and then run when you can. I think yesterday was a decent. How do I say it? It was a decent performance by the offense. I know the footing was terrible out there, real slick. I think the offensive line did okay. Not great, but they did okay overall. Nick Foles, he was pressured a lot by Carlos Dunlap. Carlos Dunlap was just whooping Ifedi's ass. Carlos Dunlap was a man on fire yesterday. Almost came up with this strip sack fumble at the end of the game there. That last drive almost had another loss on the season record on that last drive. So, Carlos Dunlap was good. He was a man on fire, but I don't think that they were overall terrible. The defense was getting run over. That's another problem with the defense. They need to shore up the middle of that defense. They're going to have to find some guys. I know they got no first-round draft pick. The Giants are going to have some type of fantastic 2 picks. I think they got back-to-back picks. The first one being the Chicago Bears pick for the number 11th pick overall last year. So Giants are going to have some picks. You got a second round draft pick that's going to be huge for you. This second round draft pick, I'm not going to say it's going to dictate. Actually, it might. To be honest with you, it might dictate where you go from here on out. Partially. You go big play wide receiver, or do you go big nasty on the offensive line? I think you go with the offensive lineman, to be honest with you. I think you go with the offensive lineman. I think, you got some wide receivers out there. They're not big, time superstars. I think you got a guy in particular I want them to go ahead and maybe kick the tires on, and that's Michael Gallup out in Dallas. He's going to be a free agent. He could go up there and get it with the best of them. Can he stay healthy? And is this just a contract year type of performance? Is that offense just that good that everybody's going to shine? So there's options outside of drafting a playmaking wide receiver or a big time wide receiver at in the second round. And first of all, the guy's got to be there. It's got to be first. It's got to be best player available. So if there's a wide receiver there, then I mean, okay, cool. But if he's not, don't go out and reach. Don't go out and try to do what you did with Adam Shaheen and try to convince yourself he was a second round draft pick. Try to convince yourself that you can get a guy in your coaching staff who has failed to develop a lot of players. The development of a lot of these football players on this team is lacking, right? And then also the evaluation of talent. So I think a big nasty on the offensive line. We talked about it this morning on Sean and I in the morning with Sean. You get a big nasty. You protect Justin Fields. You get another hog up there to get going downhill with the run. And like I said, you got three running backs. Khalil Herbert can do it. Damian Williams, I don't think Damian Williams will be here next year. What did he sign? A 2-year deal? Damian Williams? Let's see. But, nonetheless, if you have a bigger, another big body, maybe you move James Daniels over to center. Maybe you go ahead and Sam Mustipher, you are now the backup. You add another guard into the mix. I think, looking at the way last year went with the offensive line and this year, it is, in my opinion, better. Not a whole lot better. Not a whole lot better. There's still a lot of issues going on. But I mean, you have guys coming in and out, rookie starter. You got a guy coming in off the couch. You also have the issue of your play calling not protecting your weakest, links. Not trying to demean anybody, but the weakest spot on your offense. So you got to recognize that. Like I said, this also goes with self-scouting that they see that they do. So how do we see that and they don't? The biggest game was that Cleveland game where it seemed it seemed like they wanted Justin Fields to head to the IR just so that everybody could stop talking about him. They didn't protect him at all. So there's things that there's things that I like about it. There's things that I don't like about it. Obviously, a lot of confusion. I think you got to get a lot of guys. You have to give guys some years. Obviously, you want the line to stay together for a long time. You need the same. I'm talking about the same 5 guys, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. If you can get that, granted with health contracts and all that. You need some cohesion on that line. I get that it takes time, but some of the issues I have are just straight up communication. It's talking, right? And I truly believe that too. I truly believe a lot of it is communication. Sam Mustipher, you got to be more fucking flexible. I mean, there's a lot of times where you're just getting. It looks like he's just too top heavy, too top heavy. A lot of times he's getting thrown down to the ground, coming right out of his stance. Go look at that wild. Like I said, go look at that second and goal wildcat play. Sam fires out, but he just gets laid down to the ground, rolls himself into the end zone. They're getting better. It's just not a finished product whatsoever. Add a guard in there, get some more nastiness added to that front, and get the best player available, get the best offensive lineman available at that point in the draft. You can find them. You can find guys with a first round talent. You could find them. They're out there. You just got to go ahead and be honest with yourself and be honest with who you want to be as a franchise. I know there's going to be changes at the somewhere. There's going to be changes at head coach. I feel like there's going to be a change possibly at GM, maybe. But whatever you do, you got to be honest with yourself and who your team is. You got to get some toughness in there. Bare truth. Yeah, I like our young tackles and Daniels as a core of that line. I think Cody can bounce back and play well next year. Yeah, I hope so. There was a couple times where I'm looking at Cody. I'm like, man, Cody, it doesn't even look like you want to be here sometimes. There's certain plays where it's like where Cody looks like Sam. I don't know if it's because you're playing next to Sam and there, like I said, communication issues, or is it everybody doesn't seem to be on the same page all the time. I like where it is as far as what it could be. 2 bookend tackles. Hopefully Mustipher is just a better backup than he is a starter, and could just come in an emergency. And you could just move, like I said, if you could just move James Daniels over, find another guard, draft another guard you could plug in there, and see what you could do. See what happens then. See what happens when you run the, like I said, not necessarily run the football, but when you get tough up front, try to impose your will. There's times where I want them to run the ball purposely. I want them to run the, just to impose their will on a team, especially in the goal line. Like that whole series, that whole second series. I know the Bears, like I said, the Bears won the football game. I'm happy, but you can't be blinded by that win. The Bears and the Seahawks are the same team. Same team. Don't get it twisted. Same team. And to be honest with you, watching the Seahawks, I felt it was like, man, is that what we look like? Is that who we are? Is that because it reminded me a lot of like watching the same team. It's like playing the same you playing with the Bears against the Bears in Madden or something. You know, it's the same. Same, but different colors. So like I was saying, you know, you go ahead, first down, run the football. Cool. You got half of the yardage back on that first down run. After David got you a first down. Go right ahead, go right back to it. And you see in the second drive, they did just that. Not the second, it was the third drive after the turnover on downs at the goal line. Saw James Daniels right after David got stuffed at the 1 yard line. You see James Daniels looking at the sideline. Let's go. Because you have him. Because you have him going back. This is it. They got to be perfect. They have to be perfect. And you could go forward. All you have to do is forward. Drive those legs and go forward a couple inches. That's the difference. It seems like they're scared at times to do that. It's either they're scared or they're just not willing to do it. They want to be too cute. There's a lot of cuteness in the red zone. Too much cuteness in the red zone. Motion that doesn't need to be there. You know, there was a sprint out. I think the play that ended it, the fourth down play, was a sprint out to David Montgomery. And you had Cole Kmet at the top of the screen coming in motion. And David just, I mean, it was a quick just boom, you're out there. But these guys, the Seahawks, the way that they're lined up, both the cornerback and the linebacker were on the goal line. They knew where they had to stop. They knew where they couldn't, where David, when the offense couldn't go. Right? I like in that situation, fine. If you're gonna pass it, again, play action fake. If you don't even move the man in motion, you just bring Kmet to the line. The motion did nothing. Watch it again. The motion did nothing to what the defense was doing. Man comes in motion for no reason. Put him right up next to the to the left tackle. Put him right next to the left tackle. He could draw that linebacker out. Right, he could push him back up into the end zone. David comes across. There's a gaping hole. You have a one-on-one after that point. At that point, you have one-on-one in open space against David Montgomery. And you know how that goes. You had the two wide receivers blocking, the other DBs out there. You had an opportunity with play action. But instead, you went real quick sprint out. Their zone prevented you from getting anywhere near the goal line. Well, you got maybe a half a yard. Nonetheless, you're off the field. I feel like things like that could really make a difference with this team. Little things like that can be huge for this football team. With all the losses, there's so many losses in this season where I'm like, how do we lose? Like I didn't go in there with necessarily any optimism. But when you're watching the game, you're like, oh, okay, there's something happening here. You don't like a whole lot of what you see, but you have parts. You have functional parts that could get you wins. It's just sometimes you're just in your own way. Majority of the times you're in your own way. Go back and look at it. There's multiple games on the schedule that the Bears could have won. Bear truth, true. Cody's been moved around every year. He see how bad this offense is, and that and having a bad center got to affect his game. Yeah, no doubt. I don't think anybody. Well, and you got to think about what Cody had. He was moved from right to left. He was at center. Then he had Leno over there for a while. Now he's got another guy over there. He had two different left tackles in this season. You got Sam learning on the job. I mean, just a lot of different things that have gone on around Cody Whitehair. I just don't need that. I don't need that affecting my players. And it's hard when you're going through a season like you're going through, when you have issues with your coaching staff, like you're going through all the rumors and everything like that. But on the field, you see Allen Robinson doing the same thing. I feel like there's at times, at certain points in the game, especially when shit's not going right, you could see the frustration now. Even though they're fighting, I do see that they're fighting. There's a lot of guys out there fighting. And those guys that are fighting are the reason you're staying in the ball game. But you see the frustration out there at times. You really do. Seattle, I honestly, Seattle more lost this game than we. Actually, no, I won't take that away from Nick Foles, because I think Nick Foles did one hell of a job. I really do. I think he did a solid job yesterday. Oh, Miami picked 6 against the New Orleans Saints. They're on the board right away. 6-0. Ian Book with a pick 6. Anyway, we're going back to it. I want to get more aggressive up front. And I mean on both sides of the football. On both sides of the football. You have your defensive line that gave up a lot of yardage to Rashad Penny. Kudos to Rashad Penny. I mean, the past 4 games, apparently he's been on a tear. He ran all over the middle of our offense. He was actually running pretty much everywhere on our offense. Through the middle, to the left, to the right. Wherever they wanted to do in the run game, they were able to do it. You got to find somebody to plug that middle for the Chicago Bears. Defense is going to take a hit I understand that. But maybe those the back end of these drafts need to be defensive focused, right? And if you do end up trading up to get a guy, which I don't think you should. I think you just should just continue to accumulate talent. I don't know how the hell you're going to develop and assess it because you've been doing a job so far. Keep all your draft picks, but you're going to have to find a way to fill that draft back into with defensive talent, unless the defensive talent is sitting there at 3 and he's just like, oh wow, this guy's a first round. This guy's for some reason fell all the way down here for whatever the discipline, academic. He smoked some weed, you know what I mean, some shit like that. Uh, I really think that the next couple drafts, especially when you get another one back in the mix, the next few drafts need to be just straight up top of the draft focus on offense. Go ahead and find your playmaker, your athletic playmaking defenders in the back end of the draft. There's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys out there. Even the guys yesterday, even though I feel like Duke Shelley and Kendall Vildor, I think I've seen enough of both of them. Eddie Goldman needs to start earning his money again. I like Eddie G, but damn, he wasn't himself for most of the year. Yeah, I like Eddie too. I believe he's under contract, right? Is that right? Eddie Goldman. I like Eddie, taking a year off of football, not being in shape like you. I mean, in football shape. You haven't been playing football in a year. There's in shape and then there's football shape, right? And we can make. I mean, I can sit here and make excuses. Let's see, where's this contract at? But when push comes to shove, you got to be able to perform on the football field. Eddie had 2024. It says so. You have 2 more years of Eddie Goldman on the roster. I hope he bounces back. I really do. I hope he bounces back. I hope he's able to step up next year for the Bears, unlike he did this year. Well, unlike he's been doing this year. Rust or not, things need to change on both sides of the football. That mistake against, and it is a tough team. It is Russell Wilson. That's what he does, that boot action. That's what they do. But just the fact that he went, turned, and just was he was damn near to the second hash mark when he realized, oh shit, it's a pass. I got to get back. Understand there's too many miscommunications on defense. There's too many miscommunications on offense. Weirdly enough, I got nothing bad to say about Cole Kmet this game. I mean, it was kind of a shock. You can't catch the ball. You have trouble catching the ball in dry climates. You know what I mean? Perfect balls thrown to you. And here, where it's a slip inside, it's wet, it's slick, it's icy. You're over there just looking like Todd Heap, looking like a Mark Andrews, just being consistent. And I'm joking. I over exaggerate. He's not Mark Andrews. But he was all right. He was good. That's exactly what you want. Secure the football, get your ass upfield, get as much yards as you can. There was one play where I believe it was a curled. I think it was a curl. I don't know if it might have been just an out route. Anyway, he catches the ball in the flat, turns, breaks the tackle, and just gets upfield. Perfect. 16 yards, first down. Let's go. He makes another big play. I believe that was, I don't know if it was the last drive or the drive before with the Cairo Santos field goal. He makes a nice catch down at I think the 3 or the 4-yard line, over the middle of the across the middle of the field, makes a nice catch, holds on to it. Bears get, chunk yardage, big play. That's what we need from Cole Kmet. We need more of that. Securing the football, making the catch, getting off field. Now, looking at these next couple games, like I said, and also, thinking about how this one ended, I feel like the Bears can beat the Giants. I really do. I mean, the Giants aren't good. Same with the Seahawks. But I really want to see when it comes to the Vikings, because Vikings were another game where I felt like you had so many opportunities to win the game, to take the lead, to win the game, and you just did what you did best, get in your own way. I want to see how they respond up in Minnesota. Final game of the year. How will this team, and who? First of all, I want to see more rookies, and that's another thing that I want to get to in a second. Why aren't we seeing talent? I'll address that in a second, but I feel like if you're going to end on a good note, and I don't think that they should keep any of the coaching staff whatsoever. Everybody should go. If you're going to end on a good note, beat the Vikings, which hopefully Justin's starting. Beat the Vikings on the road. Knock the Vikings out of the playoffs. Hopefully, I think they're on the outside looking in right now. Potentially knock the Vikings out of the playoffs. Hang your hat on that as far as players are concerned. 3-game win streak for players, cool. Coaching staff, no go. No bueno. No bueno. You have the decision to go ahead and put Jermaine Ifedi as a starting right tackle and Bruce Irvin and Ifedi as captains. It's just high school crap. It's just it doesn't make sense. It's actually disrespectful to guys that I truly believe deserve to be captains, perennial captains, game in and game out, guys who are your leaders. And I get everybody's a leader, but some guys aren't, man. Not everybody is a leader. I don't get why that's a thing. This rotating captain shit. Not everybody is the voice. Not everybody can be a leader. I mean, it's just how it is. Some guys do a good job at just being a great teammate, but there's other guys that are out there. Roquan Smith, for instance. You might have a captain in Jalen Johnson come next year. I feel like Jalen Johnson is taking a step forward in his progression. He's saying some of the right things as far as how he looks at himself and how he looks at playing football. I feel like that you got potential here to be captains, but for the guys that really deserve it, Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith. You go offense, James Daniels. I thought it was A-Rob for a while, but I don't think I'm going to give A-Rob a C. James Daniels and, I mean, Justin come next season. Damn right, you got to earn the C. But it's just disrespectful to guys like that. It looks dumb. It really does. Bruce Irvin was here, a whole minute? Bruce Irvin just checked into his hotel from signing, right? Bruce Irvin's just fresh off of God knows where he's been. And he's a captain? Jermaine Ifedi. Embarrassing against the Vikings. Embarrassing against the Vikings. Going against your own player when Tevin Jenkins is in the right. Embarrassing. It's just enabling at a certain point. You see what the guy did. You see how he hasn't been great for you. He's been on where has he been on the IR? Was he on a COVID IR? He's been on the IR, and all of a sudden, boom, he's starting right tackle over Larry Bourne. What does that tell you? What does that tell your rookie right tackle? That you're going to go ahead and regardless of his play, you're going to go ahead and just move him out of the way so some guy can feel good about himself playing against his old team. How much motivation did Jermaine Ifedi play with yesterday? Because Carlos Dunlap was whooping his ass all game. Carlos Dunlap was whooping his ass all game. What advantage did he give you over Larry Bourne? Larry Bourne, who did a good job on TJ Watt. TJ Watt, the number one pass rusher in the league. You're going to tell me that he can't do a good job on Carlos Dunlap? Old man Dunlap? He looked like young Carlos Dunlap. Cincinnati Carlos Dunlap. He looked like he was rejuvenated playing against Jermaine Ifedi. What advantage did that give you? None. Then you made him a captain on top of that. You look like a fucking joke. You make us look like a joke. Bruce Irvin, just for the simple fact, you haven't even been here long enough. You haven't even been here long enough, and already you got a C on your. It's a lot of participation trophy crap with this team. I hate it. I can't stand it. When you look at how they're going to go and finish out this season, I think they could win these next two games. I think they have an opportunity to win these next two games. The Giants definitely have an opportunity. The Minnesota Vikings depends on what Vikings team shows up. It depends on how motivated these guys are at the end of the year to get that last win, knowing that this is it, that this is your season. But there is an opportunity. There's been opportunities all season long to change the narrative of this team, and it can't. It sticks. It sticks like skunk stink, right? Like skunk spray. You can't get it off. You have to change it completely. You have to completely cleanse this team to get the stench away. At a certain point, I feel like Seattle themselves just as much as the Bears were burying themselves for a lot of that game. Happy with the win, I guess. Does it hold a whole hell of a lot? Maybe not. Maybe not in the long run at all this season. But you saw some fight, right? You saw a couple guys fighting. David, of course. Nick Foles, being the professional that he is, showing you how to do it. If you weren't watching Nick Foles was really, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to go gushing over Nick Foles. It was one game against a bad team. But the way he carried himself, the way he had the offense together for a lot of it, for a lot of the game, well, a lot of the end of the game, a lot of the second half, I felt Nick Foles started to open up a little bit more, or they started to open up and try taking more shots just because you were down 17 to 7. Or I'm sorry, you were down 17. Yeah, you were down 17-7 at the half. Yes. I like the way Darnell Mooney, that last really big catch for him. I like the way he fights. Like Darnell's not going to be, and I'm guilty of thinking it. I think, Darnell being that Steve Smith, that number one guy, that guy that looks like a number two because of body size, but probably, could be a number one because he plays above his weight. He plays above his stature. It's just not, it's not, for me, he could be a really good number two, possibly. I mean, there's a lot of chemistry with him and Justin Fields. You see how hard he fights that one run where I think he fought for maybe 15 more yards after initial contact, was breaking tackle, broke a linebacker tackle. I think I got to go back and look at it. Definitely some DBs. Well, you like that fight. You do like the fight. Out of all the nonsense that Matt Nagy says, You do like to see the fight. You do like to see the fight. You don't want to see this team lay down like they did with Mark Trestman. You do like to see that fight. Is that fight enough to keep the coach's job? No, not at all. Not enough fight. But it might be enough to keep your job. Enough to get you or keep you right where you're at as far as being a player is concerned. I feel bad for the young talent though because they're not going to get put in the ball game. Right? They're not going to get put in the ball game. I feel like it's win or bust for Matt Nagy and company. They're going to go out guns blazing. For me, I just don't see it. I don't see you getting your young guys in there more. Seeing the evaluating talent. I just don't see it. They just haven't been those guys. They just haven't been those guys. The light bulb isn't suddenly going to click and things change. It's got to change in season. It's got to change after. Big's got to happen after the season. But in season with this regime, it's just not all going to click, man. It's not all of a sudden we figured it out. Now that you put multiple coaching staffs with me, where I get the pick of whoever the hell I want to bring in. You got Doug Pearson coming in and helping, I guess, with evaluation or something. I don't know. He was in here during training camp, I believe. You got two, like I said, you had one offensive coordinator in Mark Helfrich. You had Bill Lazor now. Yeah, you had 2D coordinators that you've gotten so much help. And still you can't get your offense going. Yesterday, kind of a different story. The elements definitely played a part. I'm sure the elements played a part for both teams. But that's an outlier. These are little blips in the matrix, right? These are little blips on the radar that something positive happened yesterday. Throughout all the negative that was going on, that you have to kind of weed through because of the victory. There's a lot of negatives. A lot of negatives. They weren't going out here and making it seem like this was like they did with the Thanksgiving game, making it seem like this was a turning point or something like that. They didn't do that. I didn't hear Matt Nagy allude to any of that. But what he did do is just say, they fought. The guys are fighting. He's proud of them of that. You're blase. I just don't hear the total all-out fight. He's talking about emptying his cup or whatever. I just don't hear it in his voice. I don't hear it in his voice. If he comes, like I said, if they make the ultimate mistake and bring him back next season, I think they're going to lose majority of the fan base. Oh, as Gesicki gets flipped upside down on that play. Yeah, I don't think you can hold on to a lot of your fans if you bring this guy back. I think fans will start to even more vocally and more demonstratively express their feelings about how they don't like the head coach. I think it's going to get even worse. You already saw people chanting at his kids' games. You bring him back next season and we see the same exact shit, there's going to be a revolt. There's gonna be an issue. And Tua fumbles, and you gotta fall on the football. Look, young defenders out there, if you see the football and you weigh 280, 300 pounds, fall your big ass on the football. The Saints had a turnover. They stripped Tua Tagovailoa, had an opportunity. Somebody got big eyes and wanted to scoop and score. Ended up costing his team a turnover. We should have fell on it. 52 right here. Fall on the football. Like he's slowing up to pick it up with two hands. Fall on the football. Anyway, getting back to the Bears. You're going to have a big problem if you bring this guy back. And a lot of people want Ryan Pace's job. I do too. That one to me is a little more trickier. You guys know the reasons why. Arlington Heights. The McCaskies apparently love him. he hasn't done A-plus job. He's found talent in the back end of the draft, but there's a lot of guys that can do that. I think with the Ryan Pace deal, it's just more personal, and that's kind of what bothers me too. It's like you have this team with a legit business mentality, and they get just really really personal with certain people. They really hold on to certain ties, and I get relationships. I get not burning, building relationships. I get not burning bridges and such. But it just seems to me like they want to put their people in. It's got to be a McCaskey guy. It's got to be it's got to be somebody that's gonna not stir the pot, not say anything, overbearing, not be a real vocal presence, especially throughout the season. You never hear Ryan Pace. But that's just, I mean, it reminds you of every other guy that they've hired. Like it just seems like it's just younger. I mean, Ryan Pace is definitely younger than some of the GMs they've had in recent years. But it just seems like a lot of it, and maybe I don't know. Jerry Angelo might have been that guy too. Maybe he might have been. But I just feel like you don't have to kick down the door and say, look, mother. You don't have to be like that. You definitely have to be direct and say, hey, look, I can't work, whoever the candidate is, right? Whoever the next hot one is, right? The next hot name, the next, rumor. You have to be able to say, hey, look, I could do this job. I want to be here. But there's I need to know that you're going to exclude yourself from football, but business and marketing, whatever. Stay there. You want to be the face of the Bears? Awesome. You want to be present and in locker room after the game, right? You want to do all that? Cool. Stay the fuck away from football. That's and that's just me saying it. I would hope the candidate wouldn't say that, but that's just me saying it. Stay away from football. I don't know if Ryan Pace has done enough to become a president of football operations. I hope they don't fire him up like that. I think that'll be a huge mistake. But if you don't fire him, what are you going to do with him? Right? You're going to keep him as your GM. You're going to give him some bullshit title. Like the Bears love creating titles. Yeah, like four quarterback coaches. You gave them like each one a different name that meant nothing. A different created name that meant nothing. So what kind of bullshit title are you going to give a Ryan Pace? He's not the guy. He's not a president of football operations. He's not the guy that you want as your president of football operations. I'm sorry. Being more present, I feel like, as far as, like I said, the marketing is concerned, you could change the opinion and the view of yourself if you stick to those guns, right? If you stick to those guns, you get somebody in here that can turn this thing around. Sean Payton, whoever, get an established guy. Put yourself out there. Start turning the public opinion of you around, because right now I feel like everybody in Chicago just can't stand you guys. Like it's not hatred. It's just like everybody in Chicago is done with your bullshit. Right? It's like that can't get right cousin. It's like, figure it the fuck out already. We're here for you. But how many more times do you want us to come here and you guys to go ahead and give us a boot to the face with what you put on the football field? It's not going to last long, in my opinion. So big decisions coming in ensuing weeks. Doesn't look like Nagy's going to be fired in season. Get used to it. But when you look at the future, you look at Justin, and that hurt me yesterday seeing Justin. I mean, whatever, they're gonna fucking celebrate. I can't stand fucking club dub, especially when you're playing the way that you are. The season's going the way that it's going. Just it's embarrassing. I didn't like. I mean, you got a big win. Have a little fun, I guess. Justin didn't even play, which was kind of one of the things that I was like, well, what you dancing for? Like Nick Foles is the one that did this. Like you need to go ahead and sit next to Nick and be like, hey, what happened out there? What was going on? What'd you see? What was working and shit like that. Why are you up there next to I didn't know who it was. Was it Duke Shelley with the camera? I don't know who had the camera. Artie Burns or something. Don't do that. You're gonna have a lot of. I mean, I believe in the kid. Don't get me wrong, but don't do that. That could swing a narrative about you real quick here in Chicago, real quick. And I don't think Justin's a guy to really give a shit and really pay attention to what people are saying. You've seen how he's overcome a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges in his football career, high school on. But this is another challenge for him as well. He hasn't lost this many games, hell, probably in his life. And you just want to see the focus. A good win, a good win for the team, I guess. You get some type of joy in the locker room, a little bit of joy in the locker room, but they don't hold that much weight, if any. Looking at next week, I think the Bears have an opportunity to beat the New York Giants. It's going to be interesting to see how or who they decide to go with that quarterback. Wonder if Matt Nagy's thinking, oh, wow, Nick did a real good job operating my offense. Maybe we should keep him in there and leave Justin on the sideline just so he could heal up or whatever. I honestly, if Justin's ready to go, Justin should be the starter. But I just still have questions about that after watching, Nick. Like I said, Nick did a good job, but I wonder if they're starting to get the wheels turning in their heads. Maybe we could get maybe Nick could come in and in relief. He's done it before and play out of his mind for the next 3 games. It ain't gonna mean shit, but at least you guys will look good with a 3-game winning streak on the back end of a 4-game winning losing streak. Was it 4 games or was it 3 games? Regardless. Yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen there. Like I said, 3 more weeks, but it's gonna be 2 more weeks, excuse me, but it's gonna be a wild 2 more weeks. I feel like there's still gonna be a lot of questions being asked, a lot of a lot of non-answers being given, a lot of rumors being flying around. I'm gonna do something with all the room. I think I'm gonna have an award. I think I'm gonna have an award or something. I'm gonna give out. Might create a little little award ceremony or something like that. I might do on the show, give for like the hottest coach or something like that. Call it the Hansel Awards for the hottest coach right now. We'll do that because you're gonna hear a lot of it. You're gonna hear Brian Table. You're gonna hear what's his name from the Ravens. You're gonna hear just McDaniel. You're gonna hear just so many names that you're not gonna know what to believe, right? You're not going to know what to believe. And there's going to be other teams involved. You got the Raiders. They're going to need a head coach. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to need a head coach. There's going to be a couple more teams out there searching for one. I think Pete Carroll might be on his way out. I'm not sure, but it just feels like that it might be Russell instead of Pete, but I just don't think it's working with Pete Carroll right now. I don't think it's on Russ. I think it's on Pete Carroll and and the offensive design. My opinion, but I think it's not. I don't think it's Russ. I think it's Pete. But that's going to be a team that maybe potentially might need a head coach. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to have a little fun with it and go from there. All right, guys, I'm tired. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to watch the rest of this Dolphins Saints game. The Bulls are up 10, 82, 72 against the Atlanta Hawks. Miami up 10-0. Oh, Philip Lindsay's on the Dolphins. They must have buried it. It was all Gaskin the last time I saw the Dolphins play. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you go ahead and check out my page at Ivan Vargas. Go ahead and like and subscribe that. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. Just type in Sports Zone Chicago. Bears win. Bears win. It was a very, very nail-biting win. And honestly, hey, also credit to Damiere Byrd, the biggest play of the game, the biggest catch of the year, Damiere Byrd. Biggest catch of the year off a broken play. He was looking for Mooney, and then Bird sword over, like I said, what I call it, Bird sword over a flock of seagulls to go ahead and pluck that out of the air. It was a good catch. It was a amazing play to win the game. So credit where credit's due. Damiere Byrd, good catch. Good throw by Nick Foles. And the Bears won. All right, guys, that is enough for me. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Sean and Maya in the morning at 9 o'clock. Peace.